Hey there, it's movie night, and tonight's film is The Great Debaters. Welcome, Ruben.
Thank you very much. We're here.
Yeah, this film was produced and actually was, and the general audience got to watch it in 2007. Its director is Denzel Washington, who also stars as Melvin Tosin. It's set in 1935. Forrest Whitaker is in the film as James Farmer Sr. and Denzel Whitaker, not related to Denzel Washington or Forrest Whitaker, plays James Farmer Jr. Nate Parker plays Henry Lowe. Hopefully I'm pronouncing her name, Janae Smollett, Samantha Book, and John Hurd is Sheriff Dozier. This film takes place in Texas, in a small college, Marshall, Texas, called Wiley College. And it's about these four college students who are under the tutelage of Melvin Tosin, played by, like I said, Denzel Washington. And these four students are doing a series of debates throughout a year, and they are just great. And then they get to a point where they are going to debate Harvard. And so, Ruben, before we even talk about that, what do you think of the film?
Oh, you're not going to tell us what you think?
Oh, well, okay. I loved it.
That's usually the format where you tell us what you think, and
I was being artistic. Now, I thought it was a great film. I enjoyed it. I got a little emotional at the end. I'm not sure if because I'm a Chion or what, but I just got a little teary-eyed because just of the debate that happened at the end against Harvard and some of the things that were being shared. And so I enjoyed it because I love historical films. This is a true story. I didn't know it. I thought first when I watched it, I thought, oh, this is kind of cool. You know, these are great young African-American actors who are playing these debaters and go out and they do real well. And then they go against big Harvard, right? And I found out, and actually, in actuality, it was USC that they defeated in 1935. That they were the national champions. But I guess Harvard sounds like it's because it's better. I mean, it's not to say better, but it's maybe a little bit more prestigious. Although now the USC people are going to go after me. But anyway, what do you think, Rube?
Yeah, I really have to say that the film is a performed piece of art. I mean, in the sense of, I think of Denzel Washington, and as I was watching it, I was reminded that I've seen movies that aren't that good with Denzel Washington in the lead, and I walk away liking the movie. He's that good. Yeah. I think of Flight, which I don't think is a very good movie overall, but he's so good that I like the movie. And so I'm not saying this is, sub material. It's just he's such a good actor, and he's really bringing this character forward. This character who's a strong debating coach and teacher who demands much of his students. So you see him. To me, what the strength of the film is the performances, starting with Denzel Washington. I can also talk about Forrest Whitaker that you mentioned, of course, who plays one of the students under Denzel's tutelage, and Tolleson, right?
Yes, the Melvin Tosin.
The actual instructor story. Under his tutelage, he plays Forrest Whitaker plays the pastor, a pastor of a church there, and great performance. Denzel Whitaker, like you mentioned, is great. So you really sense the passion of the debate team, of the travel to really prepare. And Denzel Washington prepares his students, demands much. There will be a reward at the end. What are you going to do today? And I love that aspect of it. I will say that I do recommend the film, but I felt like the film packed a little bit too much. I didn't really think it was that entertaining about the union fight and Denzel
It was too
Washington's
much.
character might have been or may not have been a communist, and they brought this up, and
Hmm.
to me, it was just a bit much. I did not care about the love story. They're always, or they often will throw that in there. Um, so they packed a bit much in there, but overall, of course, I like the Great Debaters.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you. I guess, I mean, everything you share regarding Denzel Washington, I feel the same way. I watch anything that he does. I enjoy it all. And I couldn't say it even better than what you shared. It's so true that when he's in something, it just makes it a little more enjoyable to watch it, even if it's not the greatest film. Oh, this one, I guess I also liked his, like you mentioned, his style. He, he was definitely letting him know that, what, right now in the 1930s, African Americans are not being listened to. They're not being treated. He didn't say those exact words, but the way he was talking to them was like, hey, one step at a time. He was telling, he has one young man under him who is a fighter, right? He wants to go out there and duke it out every time there's an injustice. And Denzel Washington character, Malvin Tolson, he said, hey, you know what? We take, we take it take it easy, take it one step at a time. And he was a union organizer, and if I could speak today. And so I like that about him. I liked his strategy. He loved the Harlem Renaissance. I love teaching Harlem Renaissance to my students, and he is an expert on the Harlem Renaissance. So in the beginning of the film, he's throwing out these quotes of these great artists from the Harlem Renaissance period, and he's expecting the kids to know it. And a lot of them, some of them do, some of them don't. And that was a fun thing to see because what were you gonna say?
Sorry, I interrupted you. Go
Oh, no,
on.
no, no. So I enjoy that. There's a part of the film, Ruben, where he's teaching his students. They're here. I'll go ahead and just I have it written down here. He shares with them. He wants them to repeat this, and I think he's wanting them to do this so they could be articulate. And when they're doing their debates, he tells them, "Who's the judge?" And they say, "The judge is God." And he goes, "Why is he God?" And the debaters say, "Because he decides who wins and loses, not my opponent." Tolson says, "Who's your opponent?" They say, "He doesn't exist." Why doesn't he exist? Because he's merely a dissenting voice to the truth I speak. And he has them do it over and over and over again. And in the end, they remember the words, and it has an impact on them. First, it has a purpose for being articulate, speak well, but later on, it helps them, at least it motivates them when they're about to give this great debate against Harvard. I just love
You
that.
know, I wonder, as I was reflecting on this movie,
Mm-hmm.
that there might be two movies here. I kind of want to see the guy who's the poet, who's the union organizer, be the central focus, who's also
Mm,
a debating coach on the side. And then there's this debating aspect, this
mm.
team. I almost felt like maybe there's just two movies there. Uh, yes, I like what you mentioned as well. I also want to point out a part in the film in which Forrest Whitaker, um, well, first of all, how refreshing is it? He's this pastor, he's this uh, really intense spiritual man
Yeah.
who doesn't discourage his son from debating, extracurricular. Yes, there is some arguments towards, but it had nothing to do with that.
Right.
Something else related
It's
to the
it's
union
prodigy son. Yeah.
and union organization and all that stuff, which okay. um at one point he tells his son, do what we have to do, we do what we have to do so that we do what we want to do.
Mm,
And I'm going to kind of steal that because I like the fact that
mm,
Forrest Whitaker had this kind of motto, this kind of thing that he asked his son to repeat, you know.
yeah.
And these kind of things are useful in a classroom. We do what we have to do so that eventually we do what we want to do. Could be on the whiteboard, and there are others like it. There are quotes, and students appreciate. They're reminded of it. They can recall it and live. And there's so many other ones.
Sure.
So of course there's always things to take from this, besides you know, the enjoyment of the film.
Sure.
I think there's a lot to say about the intensity, the high standards. You expect much of your students, you will get much.
Mm,
It's inspiring to see them win and go undefeated all those years in a row. So,
yeah.
yes, I definitely
Yeah.
recommend the
And I think it's a
movie.
good message for young African American kids who, for role models. There's so many role models in this film, and a lot of these people became civil rights leaders, like the James Farmer Jr. character. They call him one of the four horsemen of the civil rights, and the young lady who, am I saying her name right? Janae Smollett, who played Samantha Book. She becomes a lawyer, and at that time, not that many. I think they in the film it mentions that there's only like two African American, no, two women, I think, lawyers in the state of Texas. And this one woman is this young woman later becomes that. So I think it's just a good film to show that, hey, these are wonderful people who are such great role models and did so much for that community. And I don't know, it's a special film. I think it's definitely worth watching.
I agree.
All right. Well, Ruben, this is The Great Debaters. And again, 2007, directed by Denzel Washington. Go and watch it. And that'll be it. Have a good night.